Hello and welcome to the Future of Dogs podcast, a place for the whole dog world to come together and ask the big why and what if questions that will shape the dogs of the future. Join me, Hannah Malloy, dog behaviourist and body language expert, as we chat to some of the world's most groundbreaking professionals intent on enriching and evolving the future for dogs. This series is sponsored by Amplified Behaviour, my online video school where you can find quality dog behaviour and training advice at a fraction of the price, because I believe everyone should be able to afford the knowledge that they need to give their dogs the best life possible. Let's jump in to the next episode. Welcome back, friends, Romans, and people who generally like dogs and all things dog related. And I have got an amazing guest for you. This is part 2 of Suzanne Clothier, otherwise known as part 6 of the future of dog breeding. And we are going to be looking today at understanding temperament. I can't wait to get into it. If you want to know more about Suzanne, I did her full bio in the episode just preceding this one. So go back and have a listen. If you don't know who she is, well, I don't know why you don't know who she is, because she's absolutely amazing. And she's back with us to talk about all things dog temperament. Suzanne, it's so lovely to have you.
It is wonderful to see you. And like I said in our last episode, it would be better if we were sitting right across from each other with a pint between us. But we shall make do with, shouldn't Zoom have like virtual beers?
I think that's a great idea.
I think so. You could like plug in your little virtual drink or cuppa or whatever, and it just appears.
I love that. And then as time goes on, it just gets a little bit colder if it is a hot drink and you're like, wait, I need a new brew, refresh it. Exactly. Send somebody a shot. I love that. Yes, why not? Suzanne, last time we were together, we were talking about puppies and we were talking about all the things that we needed to impart to these incredible beings before they've even got home to, you know, a new owner. Or they've been bought, and I'd love to kind of tip into temperament today and just go, you know, how much does temperament affect? First of all, how do we even measure temperament? Like, what is the difference between temperament and personality when we look at dogs? Would you say, what's the difference?
Yeah. So when I think about temperament, what I'm thinking about is, and that's actually classically how it's defined, right, is what is the characteristic responses. So there's many, many aspects of that. Personality is temperament plus experience, if that makes any sense.
I love that.
So when we were talking about puppies, a lot of the things that I do, and I actually talked about several puppies that, you know, from the get-go, just a couple of days old, the one that's like, I will squash my head through this and I will go under my mother's elbow. And the other puppy who just lays in the corner going, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I've been a bad. Oh, hi, Mom. I have a big guy outside right now, Baloo, and he would fuss as a baby, but I would put him on my hand. So if you imagine like how leopards hang off, you know, all legs draped over the limb, I would just drape him over my hand, and then I would just jiggle him a little. I'm like, "You're okay, buddy," and he's like, "I am." It's like my own little Jungle Book Baloo. He's like, "It's okay." And that's how he is. That's exactly how he is. His brother was like, I don't think this is right, and I think something should be done about this, and I have needs. And that was evident even when they were little babies.
Mm.
If you've had the privilege of raising many, many young animals, as I have, of different species, you start to see temperament. And anyone who's a parent or even an aunt or a grandmother to various kids, you're like, oh, they are not the same. Like, from the get-go, Jamie was completely different than his sister Gemma. Yeah. It's like, yes, remember, he threw up for 4 months straight, you know? Anything upset him, blah, he just threw up. Temperament is a really strong template. Some of it has a neurobiological basis, which sounds very fancy, but it's just the combination of genetics and how you grew. Like, you know, why are you who you are? Why is your sister, if you've ever had a family holiday,
Hmm.
you know, you're like, how did we actually come from the same parents? It is a
What?
mystery to me.
Mm,
Same passageways, same combo of ingredients, maybe. So I think the key to really understanding animals or people
mm,
is appreciating the differences in temperament. They are not interchangeable.
no.
They're not interchangeable at all.
And so for you, with like, there was a big buzz of temperament testing puppies, like that concept of, being able to temperament test a puppy was so exotic and exciting. And there were so many different ways that people would go about temperament testing puppies. Like, what are your thoughts on that? You've seen generations of this. You've seen decades of people talking about temperament testing and puppies, and temperament testing adults. Going through temperament testing, shelter dogs and things like that. Like, what for you has been should just get thrown away when it comes to temperament testing, and what for you is like, yeah, this is good stuff, and this really gives us some good data about the individual that we're looking at and how we can love them and how we can help them to adapt to their environment better.
Which of those giant questions do you want?
I
You
figure
just
I'll
stepped in
just
a
give you a
very
big
big
pot.
mine. Yeah, that was a really big pot.
Which one
So,
do you want to chase?
yeah. So, couple of things. One is whenever I'm interested in something, I just like poke around in all the possible holes. I'm like some chimpanzee and Gombe with a stick, just putting in holes and then see what's on the stick and I eat it and see what happens. That's how my brain is sometimes. I'm just a chimpanzee with a stick and sticking stuff in there. It's not a nice image. You like that one?
It's lovely. It's
True though. Sometimes you get honey, sometimes you get ants.
oh no.
Yeah, it's all yum yum yum. So I got introduced to puppy testing early because one of my first jobs was at a guide school,
Mhm.
a dog school, and I was at the breeding farm. And it was a hellhole, frankly. It was just terrible. But they went through this routine of testing puppies. And I remember because I was the one who was caring along with the other staff members, we were the ones caring for these puppies from the time they were born till they were placed. I remember thinking, like, this temperament test, like, what do I know, right? I'm a kid. I'm not very old. And, like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but okay, that's what you do. And then you do that little test and you click off this answer. And I thought, but yeah, but that also, that, like, where do I put down this thing? Where do I write down that part of that puppy? Like, if he gets behind a door, you better go rescue him because he's not going to have whatever quality it takes to not panic, but to actually think and then go 2 feet this way and be like, aha, I found the answer. Um, like, I know he does that, but the test didn't show me that.
Mhm.
So I did lots and lots of it. And then on top of it, one of my earliest and bestest mentors was Wendy Volhard. She and Jack Volhard both took me under their wing when I was all of 21.
Wow.
They spotted something in me, and so they were extraordinarily good at raising me as a baby trainer. Made me very methodical. They made me critical thinker,
Mhm.
analytical. Not terribly operant because that wasn't the gig then, but really good at what they did. But they had their puppy test. And again, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I was getting different qualities. I was seeing different things in dogs. So if you looked at my results on a puppy test, you would see stuff noted that nobody else was talking about. I'm like, but he did that. Did you not see when he did that thing? Like, he keeps doing that thing. He keeps
Mhm.
doing that thing too. So I just started, like, I would go assess puppies, and I had a really excellent track record. If you were looking, I remember testing the litter of all breeds, Frenchies, a little French bulldogs. And they're like, we want to know about these. There was 5 in the litter. 3 of them I would have considered absolute top notch, want to go get advanced obedience titles.
Mhm.
This is the dog for you.
Wow.
They were so dialed in. They were so responsive. They were so biddable. None of those qualities, right? That biddability, no one talks about that.
Mm.
So we start with if we're going to talk about testing, then we have to ask, does the test actually ask the questions you need to know the answer to? Right? So, most puppy tests start out like this. Hey, puppy. And it's like, look, he's friendly. I'm like, no, I can go down any crowded street and yell, hey, old lady. And whoever turns around, if I think that means they're friendly, I'm crazy. No. If I want to find out who's friendly, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit on a bench and just wait.
Yeah.
Till someone comes by and makes eye contact. It's like, hey, how you doing today?
Mm-hmm.
That's what friendly, sociable people do.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would never do that to a stranger. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just live your own life. I treat other people like they're wild animals. Like, I don't want to intrude on your existence.
Sure.
If I can help you, if you're stuck, I will help you get your leg out of the fence, sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I assume you're like the birds and the bees. They're just going about their day and
Yeah.
really need me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just started to think like so I got this reputation, like if you can get Clothier to puppy test, if she picks a puppy for you, and I had clients that would fly me to go pick puppies, and I had a good eye for confirmation. I remember one woman, she's like, I want a champion,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to be able to do agility, obedience, and rally. I was like, all right, so this is your confirmation choice, but this puppy will not stand to the pressure. This puppy is not going to do well in trial settings,
Mm-hmm.
nor are they willing to do the persistent work needed. This puppy, much more confident, more sociable, got some confirmation flaws, but is going to show like, lucky for you guys,
Mm-hmm.
I came today. Look
Yeah.
at me, Andrew D. And that gene carries just a ton of value in the
Yeah.
showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she got exactly what she wanted. She got a group placing dog. She got a dog who put multiple titles on both ends.
Wow.
And so I was just seeing something in ways that other people weren't. And whatever
Mm-hmm.
I read in dog training books bugged me. So whenever dog literature makes me think that cannot be all there is,
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot in human psychology. I read a lot in other fields. I started to think, so yeah, Jerome Kagan is one of the folks. He did some really long, 40 plus year longitudinal studies on temperament in children. So he asked a lot of questions like, why? Why, if we have two kids here, right? So if we have me and you together and we're both, let's say, both physically capable. Right now, I couldn't run if you said there was a free pony on the lawn. I'm waiting to get my knee replaced, I think. But let's assume we're healthy. We have the same capabilities. And I'm like, let's go get some ice cream. And you're like, yeah. And you just like take off like a bat out of hell. That sounds great. And another kid likes like, I would love ice cream, but takes mom's hand and walks in quietly.
Mm-hmm.
Why? No one said first one there gets the ice cream. That's a motivational state, right? It's like what makes these puppies. One of them's like, why go slow when you can fly? Like, why use stairs when you can just jump off?
Yeah.
And other puppies are like, no, they go very carefully, go down one stair, and then we go down one stair, and then we go down one stair, and right?
Yeah.
That was what I was interested in. So
Yeah.
when I found Kagan, I was like, all right, I don't totally understand what he's talking about, but I'm really interested in the questions he's asking
Yep.
and the correlations he was able to draw across very long longitudinal studies.
Mm.
So when babies get really excited, you present something novel, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, these kids, they're like, oh, he's so excited. It's like, that does not bode well, right? The kids that get afraid, it has a different trajectory, that temperament, depending on how it's handled
Mm-hmm.
and what experiences they have, changes things.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept marching down my own little path. And I would, people would ask me to assess their puppies, and I would just give them my written report with some kind of the highlights of why this is the puppy for you and why this is not. The end.
And
And
so,
then I got to practice as a breeder, placing my own puppies, right?
uh-huh. And that's a huge like wealth of background experience in watching dogs and understanding what a dog needs, like what resources they need to be able to succeed in like a certain environment. I guess I think, I mean, for me, I look a lot at the pet owning world. That's the place that I most want to improve, I think, because the pets, dogs as pets are prolific. And I think most people, even if they want a competitive dog or a dog who can do dog sports, they still often are kept as pets these days. It's very rare that you have dogs that are kept in kennels, at least in the UK, maybe not so much in the rest of the world. But the job of a pet dog, I think, is one of the hardest, arguably. Like, they have to cope with the most ridiculous environments that we put them in, and they have to be flexible to deal with loads and then nothing. Like, that horrible combination of, like, you do nothing all day and you have a very similar life and you get walked to the same place every day, and then Christmas happens and everyone comes around and there's lots of noise and there's lots of stuff, and now you have to cope with loads of other family dogs arriving and all of the other things that we expect you to deal with at Christmas. And so, like, when it comes to looking for pet dogs, obviously there's a huge variety of breed types. Like, what do you want to help people to see? Like, what, in terms of temperament, do you want to see for a dog that you think is going to survive well as a pet dog, would you say?
So this is like the real estate question, right? It's exactly like buying a car or a vehicle or buying real estate. So generally speaking, we would all like a house. The roof doesn't leak and all the doors and windows open and close as they should. And the water runs and the toilet flushes, and you don't have to think, I'd best not step on that part of the floor or I'm gonna
Hmm.
fall through. Um, but that is such a great big bucket.
Hmm.
It is. So temperament really says, let's get down to the nitty gritty of the individual. So when we were looking for this farm, we had some really specific things that we said. The farm is not to be on a busy road, like just absolutely not. It's not uncommon around here to have the farm part and the farmhouse be separated because it used to just be like a market lane, or now it's got 50-mile-an-hour cars. So it's like, it can't have this, it can't have that, it must have this, it must not have that. So when we're trying to figure out what is the right temperament for this person or this lifestyle, or this temperament means this dog needs this kind of lifestyle or home, and it cuts both ways. Yeah, what are your non-negotiables? So you might say, like, it's got to have at least, this many acres, and I'd like to be within walking distance of a town or biking distance, but I don't want a lot of neighbors, and I don't want a, bike path or train tracks, whatever your non-negotiables are. But it's like, it doesn't have 3 bedrooms, but it has 2 bedrooms and a fully furnished basement that's been finished that walks out onto a garden. You're like, all right, I can make that work.
Hmm.
Or if it doesn't have a yard, don't show me this. I have dogs.
Yeah.
I want to have a garden. Don't show me something in an association where we don't put up fences. That's here in the US, which cracks me up. It's like, okay, it looks prettier without fences. Well, the dog bites aren't as pretty, but okay, sure, you do you.
Wow. Wow.
So that's what we're after is, and that's what I kept getting into was, what is it that would make these dogs superstars in this role? What makes this an amazing therapy dog?
Mm.
What makes this a great guide dog? What makes this a great kids dog? What makes this a busy family dog? What makes this a hiking in the mountains adventure dog? And so it's very much like that. Like, what makes a good house for a family? It's like, well, that's a useless question.
Hmm.
What does your family do? It's like,
Yes.
oh, we're skiing in Austria every weekend. It's like, well, then you don't really need much of a house because you're not in it much, right?
Sure.
And it's like, oh, we do everything at home. We have huge parties and we entertain, and all of our friends have friends over. And it's like, we need a very different kind of house,
Mm.
so that I don't like to think in big lumps,
Yep.
except when I start to sort it out, right? So it's like, what breed would be appropriate? It's like, there are qualities that go with certain breeds.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I need to come home after a day's work and take the little monster for a bit of a walk. And then he's happy to play catch in the garden and then settle down. We watch TV.
Mhm.
It's like, those dogs exist,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a breed, but there's a temperament that suits it. It's like, I'm a terrible accountant. No one would hire me as their bookkeeper or accountant. I'm like, I don't know, it's off by $100. Like, is it that big a
Yeah.
deal? It's 100 here, 100 there. Like, what's the difference? And it's like, we're missing 5 cents in this accounting. I'm like,
Mm. I don't
can't you
care.
just
Yeah.
make that a zero and call
Yeah.
it good? Like, really? Is someone going to come check your work? And they're like, yes, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
tax department. Well, I'm like, fine. So I don't have a temperament, but there are people that are really well suited to being bean counters.
Mhm.
They really enjoy that. That's their temperament.
Yep.
There's people that have the nerves of steel to be test pilots. I had a friend who was married to a retired test pilot, and nothing got this guy upset. Nothing. He's like, I have flown in jets that were probably maybe going to blow up.
Wow.
Multiple times he had to eject from the jets, like, well, that's not working the way we
Mhm.
thought it was. Eject. And he's like, huh. I was like, was that scary? He's like, no, it was exhilarating. It was like, how hard can we push this? What if I try to fly this plane upside down? I'm just like, I don't like
Eject
it.
upside down.
Exactly. I like no turbulence. I'm just really happy with that part.
Yeah.
So that's what
So
temperament is. It's
So
that
for you, it's starting actually with the owner and going rather than like what is it that you need from a like what do you need from a pet dog? Like what does your life look like? And starting there and then looking at what you have from the puppies. I think the hard thing from our perspective is like when you think of it as dog trainers or the owner that's just got the dog is like that process entirely gets missed and
oh,
they have a dog, they're like this was the boy that was available, so I got
the
it
right
and it
color. I wanted one that
yeah
was spotted brown. It's like,
yeah
okay. So
so
that's like saying I got a car because it was, white with pinstriping and in
mhm,
red. I like that. It's like, okay,
okay
you do know that you have 12 children and
yeah
you can only fit two of them in the car at any given time. Just saying. So we do as trainers, that's what we end up with.
mm,
So then I have a slightly different take on temperament, which is let me help you understand what you have,
mhm,
right? So that you understand why there's going to be some training challenges
yeah
because of who this dog is temperament wise. There's just basic skills. Any dog can learn the basic skills, but then it's whether or not it lines up with their temperament.
mm,
So I always use the joke of like, I certainly know how to wear pantyhose. I just choose not to for any reason. Um, and like I had to wear them, and I know how to put them on. I went to church and wore skirts, and I know all that stuff. I just choose not to use that information ever again because it is not temperamentally lined up with who I am.
right
My sister, on the other hand, is a very girly girl.
mhm,
So she knows all the latest makeup and how to accessorize, and which hose would be appropriate for that, what would be a good color for that dress. And I'm like,
right. I can't wear high heels. I'll wear boots, but you'll never get me in high heel. Like I just can't. The tottering. I'm like, no, I need to be able to
that's what I do.
run. What if I need to escape a situation
I
quickly?
have
I
to
can't
throw
do
them
that in
over
these
my
shoes.
shoulder. Yeah,
Yeah.
I once sunk in the lawn while my sister and mother were laughing and wetting their pants because I was like aerating the lawn. I just step back on the lawn and then they're like, it's just if there's a crack, I will find it and put a heel in it. And no, so I just
No.
won't.
Yeah.
So because it doesn't align with how it makes us feel,
Hmm.
right? Whereas no one had to pay us to hang out with dogs.
No.
Like, where
Yeah.
is Hannah? Where's Suzanne? It's like, are there any animals in this room?
Yeah.
That's where they will be. And
Hmm.
lacking that, they might be outside watching an orb spider because that was more interesting than the stupid birthday party, which was
Yeah.
just dumbass games.
Hmm.
Because that is so aligned with our temperament and who we are and what our interests are. And dogs are the same. So that's why sometimes it's so hard to teach a dog something. Ever try to teach a hound to retrieve? It's really quite funny. My big deer hound, at one point, we had the plumber and a helper come years ago. and it's too small a bathroom, and the helper wasn't really needed, and the plumber's like, I got this. So he's like, oh, could I play with your dog, the young helper? I said, sure. Fred loves people. He did. This was an amazing dog. And he goes, oh, is it okay if I play stick with him? I was like, sure. I'm thinking, knock yourself out. This is going to be fun to watch. Anyway, so he's like, you see the stick? And Fred's just wagging his tail, big, happy smile on his face. He's like, okay. And he throws it. He's like, go get it. Fred's like, that is a fascinating thing. And he just stood there wagging his tail. And then the guy scampers over and he gets it. He pretends to pick it up. He's like, look, I've got the stick. And he comes back. Fred has not moved a toe. This is a 36-inch tall. This is a very large dog. Big, soft, sweet, sweeping tail. He's like, you're so funny. So the guy does it about 5 times, and Fred still has not moved a single toe. He's just watching the floor show. And the guy comes back and he's got the stick and he sees me watching him and he goes, he's not going to do this, is he? I'm like, no, no, he's not. He sees no reason to chase a stick. Now, if you were a deer, he's very good at that. He's really good at that. If you would like to play stick, I will go get one of my shepherds who will happily play this until you wish they would stop.
Yeah.
And it's just, so when we find something, it's like, why is this so hard? And that can be even like I've had fill in the blanks all my life, and none of them had any trouble with this. It's like, that's because their temperaments are different. You had similar. And so, like, let's say a dog is really driven by his nose. It's like all my other dogs came when I called them. I use this technique with all of them, and I always use cheese, and I do this, and I've always done that, and my dogs have come when they're called. And then you get this puppy who's like, oh my God, when I smell stuff, my brain just melts and the world goes away and I'm in just nirvana. Training that puppy to let go of what he's doing and come back to you is utterly different just because of that one aspect of his temperament. So that's what I'm looking for. What will align with who you are? And then what's going to be a bit of a stretch, and you're going to always have to pay for this. This behavior is going to have to be reinforced. I don't know what it would take, probably a pony every day to get me to wear pantyhose again, but I'd consider it, if there is a big enough reward. It would have to be massive. Then I'd have too many ponies, and then they'd have to promise someone else was going to clean the stalls. Or I don't know. There's ways around it. I mean, don't say, I could handle too many puppies, ponies, whatever. You get the idea.
I do. And then you've just got to go, well, is it worth it? She doesn't want to wear pantyhose. Like, is there a way that she doesn't need to? Do we just not put her in an environment where she has to do that every day?
Right. It's like, look at the look on her face. Look at the look on her face when she sees pantyhose are involved. You don't want your Suzanne to feel like that, do you? It's like, no. And we do this to dogs. The dogs are like, no, thank you. So that could be as simple as meeting strangers.
Yeah.
The dog's like, good, we're on a walk. We're having a little, nice little stroll. And then, oh, he's so cute. And what is his name? And then the stranger decides they want to pet you on the head. The dog's like, for the love of God, like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Don't touch me. Why did my dog snap at that stranger? I'm like, why was the stranger touching your dog? But that's another story. Whereas I have a puppy who's like, they made eye contact. I know they made eye contact. So that means they can't wait to meet me and hug me. And I'm like, no, River, actually, it doesn't. They just looked at you. Actually, you scared them because you're like, hi. Yes, over the top. I love everybody. And so strangers can literally hug this dog with both arms and squash her. That's how you stop her from jumping. You hug her. She's like, knew we could be friends. You're a German Shepherd. She's like, I don't see any threat here, so why do I need to pull out a gun? I don't. And that's her temperament, which would drive some people crazy. And her mother would look at people like, okay, you're drawing breath. Good for you. Carry on. Like, I do. Is there some reason I should care about? Oh, you have cookies. You have cookies. Tell me more. Tell me more about your cookies. Not you personally, but just your cookies. So those are temperament settings. And if I had taken Lynx and decided to make her into a great big, love everybody. I'm actually talking about her grandmother, Flicker. and say like, oh, she's going to be a therapy dog, and she had the stability to handle all the stuff that goes on in a nursing home or a therapeutic setting. But she would have found no joy in it.
Mhm.
She would have just gone through the motions, and I could have taught her, put your head on the bed so they can touch you, do this, do that. She would have just rolled her eyes. It wouldn't have scared her,
Mhm.
right? The same way pantyhose doesn't actually hurt me, though I claim that it does. Um, yeah, but her granddaughter's like, oh, don't you just love people? Aren't they the best? I'm like, how is it you're my dog? I do not know, but that's her temperament, and it's been her temperament from the get go.
That's
So
amazing.
when I can understand each dog at that level,
Yeah.
I can figure out what floats your boat, what doesn't float your boat. Is it not floating your boat because it's scary,
Mm-hmm.
or you just don't like it?
Mm. And then what? And then I remember you
Then
saying
what?
in our
Right.
last episode, if it gets to the stage where then we're bringing out cookies or treats, then we're coercing. It's actually like that's just doesn't feel ethical at all. It's like, well, I can get them to do it, but do they like doing it? And for most people, that's not even a question that they would begin to ask, which is why I know we were saying, in the early stages of your career, people were like, she's very woo woo, like she's out there. And it's like, no, she actually cares about the animal's perspective. And I know when we're in a very utilitarian environment with dogs and I need you to do this thing, this is the thing that I need you to do. What do I need to pay you in order for you to do this thing that I need? And some people still very much live that way with their dogs, which is super sad. Um,
I
so
mean,
what?
you can raise children that way, right?
Mm,
We can all be handled that way. We
yeah.
usually call it our ex boss,
Mm-hmm.
or a former job, because at some point, if it doesn't line up with who we are, man, and you probably know people are like, I'm doing it for the money, and they have a long term goal and they wish to build their bank account. But if they were like, we're not going to be able to pay you that much anymore, they're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. If someone said, Suzanne, you don't ever have to worry again. All of your bills will be paid, whatever food you and your animals need, whatever medical care, it's done. It's done. You don't have to worry about that stuff. Just do your thing. I would keep doing my thing.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't
Same.
be like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. But that's how I think it is with dogs. So when it doesn't, this is what I think, right? So when a behavior like totally lines up with a dog's temperament,
Mm-hmm.
their abilities, it's like putting a negative over a photo. It just is a beautiful line. But the more those are not in alignment, this is what training is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Training does two things. One, it gets the dog to do stuff they wouldn't normally do. And two, it just gives them skills so they can be safe in the world and have some freedom. But it's like, so the further that misalignment is, the more you're going to spend time training it. Like, how much would you have to train a beagle to not use his nose? Everybody would
That's,
laugh at that concept.
yeah.
Like,
It's a waste of
that's
time.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you would just, it would look like a little limp with ears because you'd have to feed it so much and
Mm-hmm.
manage it so tightly.
Mm-hmm.
When you say, "Hey, let's put that nose to work. You want to hunt rabbits?" and say no more, my way. And that is the joy too when you line a dog up with what his temperament is, and you line him up with a lifestyle that suits him. It's just like River when she gets hugged by
Mm.
utter flipping strangers. She's like, "Isn't this the best?"
And teaching people that difference as well, isn't it? It's being able to say, like, actually, this dog doesn't enjoy that. I've got a friend of mine who loves dogs deeply, and when she handles my dog, she's had a very like people friendly dog, and my dog is a cocker spaniel. He's a good boy, but he's really not that into being petted. Like he's just not. He's like, I'll eat the food, and if we get a toy, I would love it if we could just throw a toy between us. That would make me feel really cool, good.
Right.
But if you touch me, I'm gonna jump up at you because I really don't get this, and it feels weird. And so that's how I cope with these things. And so I'm often like, just don't touch him, and he won't jump up. If you don't want to be jumped at, like if you put your paws on him, he'll put his paws on you. That's the way that he's like, I don't know, that's what we're doing. Um, But every time she handles my dog, when we're out in like a public place, she's like, "Oh, do you want to say hi? I think he wants to." And I'm like, he doesn't.
The dog is
He's
like,
like, no,
no,
not
no, I
really.
don't. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Like
Um,
you wouldn't take a child right and be like, here, say hi. It's like,
yeah.
what? No. So
Mhm,
we don't want to use temperament as an excuse though either.
mhm,
So like with your guy, it's like, all right, I need to teach you the skills. Like I recognize this is hard for you,
mhm,
or this is something you'd rather not. But if it turned out like to live in America, it was a law that you had to wear pantyhose, my mom would have taught me, I know this is not what your idea of fun is, and under these conditions, you won't have to. But once you step outside your house, the law is you must wear pantyhose. That's how you're a good American. And I would have been like, fine. I'm moving to Ireland. I would have left for Canada years ago. They would never make me wear pantyhose. But there was plenty of times when my mom's like, I know this is not what you want to do. I am a serious little introvert. So to take me to church socials and like potluck suppers or
mhm.
I was like, "Wow." She's like, you need to know how to be civil.
Yeah.
You cannot just shut down. So the same is true. If I see a dog says, I would really rather that never happen, I only have a couple options. I will make sure that never does happen again. Like, I can arrange that. Like my beef cattle, they've never seen anything bad. They grow up here and they're like, life is perfect. They have no idea what fear means. It's like they're living that life because I set it up for them.
Mhm,
But my dogs, it's like, you don't have to like it, but I'm going to give you the skills so that you are not afraid and you know how to cope with this setting. So I recognize that piece of your temperament. You're not that sociable. So this is where I teach like my go say hi 1, 2, 3. It is the equivalent of my mother saying, you don't have to go home and be their child. You simply have to step forward, look them in the eye, and say, thank you, Mrs. Smith. Very nice to meet you.
yeah.
Lovely to be invited to the party. Step back and shut up. That
Mhm,
will have made them happy.
yeah.
Do it with a smile, do that thing. So I do the dog version of that. So go forward, get your little cookie, get your little touch, and the little primate at the other side there is happy. So
Mhm.
that's what I would suggest for your dog. It's like, go say hi. You know how this rolls. Just shake. Good.
Oh,
And cookie.
I just send the toy and then they're fine. They're like, okay, we can play with the toy. I'm like, he doesn't
Yeah,
listen.
you
Let me
make them
just get him his
sense.
toy. Da da. There we go. You
Don't
guys
we
can
do
play.
that with
He
other
loves it.
people?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I
we're
know.
like, so if you're all into like, I don't know, online video games. I don't know that we can be really good friends because I'm going to go get covered in dog hair
Yeah.
and roll around in the grass with puppies. And I might come home smelling a little bit of puppy breath and poo. Never know. Yeah, it's like, but I want to stay home and play video games. So,
Mhm.
but we can find points of agreement. So,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
negotiation, isn't it? And so when we're looking at temperament, um, I've got to see a little bit more of your temperament testing system, because I've sat and listened to you and done a workshop, and I'm absolutely intrigued. And it really has already started to just change the way that I look at dogs in terms of the flexibility in certain areas. But as you were developing your system, Suzanne, like what are the key areas that you look at in the CARAT testing system, isn't it? Tell us a little bit more about that. What does that involve?
So it was a matter of setting aside what I was taught, and people were telling me was temperament, dove deeper, and then I'm like, all right, so I have the privilege of breeding dogs. I have the privilege of living with them, and the large majority of the dogs I've owned, I bred. Like, so I knew them from when they were just a glint in their father's eye, and on to their last breath. So I got to really have this amazing controlled experiment because normally I'd have between 7 and 13 dogs. So not a small number of dogs. And then watching other people's dogs and watching the litters grow up in their homes and then being a trainer whose students often came and stayed forever. We just had to keep inventing new classes. What were the things that held constant? What were the things that were as true of this puppy when they were little, as when they were adolescents, as when they were young adults, middle aged?
Mm.
elder. I remember watching one of my girls, probably just a few weeks from her death, and the sprinkler. I wrote about this in my book, Bones Would Rain from the Sky. And the sprinkler came on. She's like, yes, because that was always her answer, like, oh, hose, water, sprinkler. And so here she is dying of cancer. And that still was her answer. That was the setting in her brain was yes. And with what little strength she had, she tried to get that done. And I thought, and that's what temperament is.
Mm.
That is her characteristic response to a much favorite activity
Mm.
right until she died. Right. And that is the amazement of being able to watch in different species too, watching different species grow up. It's like you were that way when you were a kid. Do you ever hear anybody say that to you? They must. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
Hannah,
you've
even
always
when
been
you
this
were a
way.
knee high to a grasshopper, you were just like that. You haven't changed anything.
Hmm. My
Changed
mum,
it.
my mum had a video of me when I was in the bath, and like my dad was washing me, and I was like, okay, okay, I'm the teacher, and this is what I said to her. I'm the teacher, and so my mum, through my whole childhood, she's been like, okay, Hannah, you're the teacher. That's fine. So it's yeah, absolutely,
And
it is.
amazing. Now you have a podcast
Yeah,
and you're trying
weird.
to teach people. Who could have seen that coming? This is the thing that we do, right? If we're lucky, the people around us help us. They listen to what our temperamental setting is, and then they support that so it can really blossom. And this is why some dogs end up in shelters because they're like, I can't stand this dog.
Mm-mm.
Right? The dog I wrote about in Bones, Badger, he's a lab chow cross. The first time I met him, I'm like, part of me is like, just give me the dog. I'll pay you. Just give me the dog. You're going to ruin him. And also, I think he's my dog. And also, I love this dog. I get him, which is not professional to say. So I didn't. I just said, he's a lot of dog for you. And I think, if you put the work in, we'll get there. But if you ever find you really just think you'd rather, get something a little more low key, just call me and I will come and get him. So she did. She's like, if you don't come get him, he's bitten 3 people. Oh, we're going to put him to sleep. Like, I will
Wow,
be there in a few hours.
wow.
And had him until he was, what, almost 14. And for me, he made sense. Like, I
Mhm.
got who he was. I didn't push the trickier parts of his temperament. I supported him and gave him a balance where he could be his best self.
Mm.
But how unhappy would you be if instead of being the teacher where you get to say, this is how I want to do this is the bar I set for myself, it's like, yeah, but the boss said that's too much, Hannah, so just do your work, stay in your lane. I could just see your face. It would be priceless. It'd be, really, like, I don't know then, do I have a good enough poker face to, how long would you have stood that? You would have
Wow.
started to buck back against
Mm.
it. It's what dogs do,
Yeah. I
right?
can't do a
Either,
job I don't find fun. I couldn't for no
oh,
amount of money. Money's never going to make me want to do a job that I don't find fun if I
it
don't find
never
it fun.
has.
No,
Like,
exactly.
no, I'm out. Thanks. That stopped being fun. Um, but
And
the
I
same
think
is
that's the
for
hard thing
dogs.
for owners, isn't it? Because they're like, well, how much of this is malleable? Like, and people don't know. I don't think, I think most dog trainers still don't really know until they've started working with the dog, like how feasible is what you're expecting from this particular character. And how can I start that process of getting to know the temperament of the dog that I'm looking at here and going, is this possible for this dog to live well in this environment? Like, when do I say enough is enough? And I think that's a really hard line that most people bang their heads against, and then other trainers will come in and be like, oh, you haven't tried this and you should have done this instead. And what I'm hearing a little bit, Suzanne, is that actually like you have such flexibility to go, I'm going to give this dog what it needs. And that would always be my heart, is to go, where can we put this dog? It's rescue mentality, really. It's the heart of an ex behaviorist who worked in rescue. It's like, well, I need to put this dog in the right place, not find the dog that you want. But for a lot of people, they don't have that luxury. How would you help people to kind of see the difference? Like, what kind of process could they go through to go, based on where I'm trying to get to and the dog that I'm looking at? When would they draw that line? Like, when it comes to temperament testing, do you think?
It reminds me of, like, I can take you bird watching and we can look at the big, birch tree I'm looking out at the window there and like, see that bird? And you're like, Sort of, kind of. What bird, I'm not really that interested. Or I can hand you a pair of binoculars and be check that out. Look at the red on that wing. That is
Mhm.
amazing. And you see that little yellow patch means that he is a breeding male. And the other guys have the red, but no, he's not a breeding male. He just hasn't reached his maturity yet. You're like, I did not know that. And that's his call. And that's the kind of habitat they like. So next time you're near, open swampy areas, listen. And you might hear a red-winged blackbird, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes I think the information that's out there, it's about personality and, these are the breed tendencies. They backfire because they do not actually help people see the dog as an individual.
Mhm.
My whole thing is see the dog. So it's like, hang on a second. That would be like saying, women who like dogs. I'm like, that's a very big category. What kind of dogs? What kind of women? Like, what country are we talking about? If we're in Upper Mongolia or Outer Mongolia, we might get a very different answer than, someone who lives in downtown London. Um, so, how can I dial them in to see what their dog is? Because a lot of times they have come across that all puppies are clean slates and it's up to you to destroy them. And if your dog doesn't behave this way or that way or can't do this, it's because you're a bad owner. It's because you use treats. It's because you didn't use treats. It's because you used this leash. You didn't use you should have put a
Mhm.
harness on. Why didn't you have a halter on him? You went to the wrong trainer. You fed him kibble. You fed him cooked food. You fed him from the table. Holy God, how about we start with who is the dog we're talking about?
Mhm.
Who is that dog?
Mhm.
Now, did you create it? And I see relief when I give them the lens of CARAT. Like, you see that? Did you notice that, the whole, I just had a Wheaton come a couple days ago. And man, he lived in his nose. He
Mhm.
just he was like a vacuum. He's like, do you ever smell this world? It's amazing. I was like, somewhat I have, but nothing like you can. But he was not very visual, and it turns out he wasn't very visual because he had some deficits in his vision. But if you left him alone, he listened and he smelled. And
Mhm.
those were his two main ways. If he got close enough to you, then he could sort out what he was seeing visually. So it's like, well, none of my other dogs do that. Like, your other dogs might be more visual. They might be listening to all the sounds of the farm. Like, what was that? A lot of dogs have never heard a rooster or a donkey or, whatever. So when I say, like, the reason you're struggling with this, why is it so hard to get Bosco to come in from the garden when I call him? It's like, because he is so persistent about using his nose. When he's doing that, he's not dialing you out, he's dialing this in
Mhm.
and up.
Mhm.
He can't hear you over that. So you need to change your signal. You need to have a different thing that gets through that he's like, what? You might need to walk down to the garden and tap him and be like, hey, Bosco, let's go in the house. Okay, we've got to finish doing that, right? And they're like, oh, it's not because I'm a bad person. Or if their dog's not sociable, or their dog needs to come into a new setting and kind of sit there for a while, quite a while. It's like, great. Versus the dog is like, hello, thankfully I'm here. You may all now gather around me, pay your respects, also hand over all your cheese. Shepherds tend to announce that they are there like some royal proclamation.
It's true.
I am here. It's like, shut up. So understanding that, I think I've seen so many people like, it's not me. It's like,
Mhm.
no, he's born this way.
Yeah.
You're gonna go all Lady Gaga here. He was born this way.
Mhm.
You didn't make him this way. It's like the old graffiti. My mom made me a homosexual. It's like, if I get her the wool, will she make me one too? It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Not how it works. So they're relieved, and it's like, these are the challenges you will have, right? Because of this dog's temperament. And these are the things you need to do to support him. But these are the things that you're going to smoke everybody else on the block because he's really good at this part.
Yeah. Come on.
Really good at this part.
And that's so important, actually. Expectation management, I think, for most of us, is if we're in the field of dog training and behavior, is the majority of the job. Actually, is working through what somebody wants and helping them to align their expectations as to how long that's going to take, or how old is this dog, or how many sessions, and for how many repetitions, and how much food, and a lot of that is expectation management. Again, same with rescues and things like that. Working with rescues and pairing people together, and understanding that process of getting to know this dog, and they're not just going to walk into your house and make your whole life better. They're going to get used to where they are, and you're going to learn about them as you go, and we only know this tiny little bit. And so the CARAT, just to clarify, the Clothier Animal Response Assessment Tool, which is a temperament assessment tool that looks at 6 categories and then 21 dimensions of that 6 categories. Is that something for trainers only? Would you say that's accessible for like dog owners? Who would access that kind of learning, and how could they use it, Suzanne?
So you can start with just a simple 1 hour webinar, which gives you the concepts, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting way. Now oh, I see. That is, my dog does do that, or that makes sense now. It just gives them a different framework. So that's like, hey, learn about birds. Like, yes, what about birds? And then we have the Intro to CARAT course, and that is much more in depth, but it's 8 sessions, and we really dive into what those 6 and 21 are. And then there's the CARAT certification course, which is you are dead serious as a professional. And because this is what it helps you do as a professional, one is very quickly identify this dog is going to be suitable for that task.
Mm-hmm.
This dog is now in a family already. This is what's making him unsuitable. This is what we can work with. This is what we can manage. This is how we can get them to appreciate what their dog's strengths are, or to understand this dog needs a much smaller world or a bigger world,
Mm.
right? So, and that's mostly what we do as trainers.
Mm.
If you plug in premarital counseling in Google, look at the number of results, and then put in divorce lawyers, you will see a very big discrepancy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not premarital counseling which wins. So mostly the dogs are there. So that's the CARAT webinar, which is an hour of, that's pretty cool. Never looked at it that way. Intro to CARAT it's an intensive course, but it's not terribly long. You don't have to be a professional to benefit from that. It's a somewhat deeper dive. And then the CARAT certification, you're looking at 2 years of pretty serious work.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's huge. There's so much more that we can learn, isn't there? I think ultimately, and so many more questions I think we could be asking. That's what I'm learning always when I'm working with you, Suzanne. Is like, I thought I asked a lot of whys, but actually there are so many more, so many more whys we could be
Well,
asking.
that's it. If we want to understand temperament,
Mm.
then we have to be sure we're asking the right questions. And sometimes, like I said, if I just run out in the street and yell, "Hey, lady," if I think that means that is someone who really enjoys people and wants to interact with them, I could be so wrong. And so, like, we'll take social under CARAT. You have sociability. Are you even interested in interactions? Right? And if so, it's like, I like your cocker. I am, but there better be a toy involved. Right? Just because you're drawing breath in the neighborhood, I don't care. I would just as soon you go your way, I'll go mine. No fuss, no muss. You have a ball. Tell me more about yourself and your ability to throw said ball for me. That's a very specific question about me and the
Yeah.
ball. But I'm willing to have that chat, right? Uh, yeah, so we look at sociability. We look at social tolerance. What if I do something rude?
I
What
love
if
this.
I've got your ball, but I want to pat you on your little head and I want to pull your little cocker ears because they're just so cute? And he's like, that is where this conversation stops. We are not talking about you touching my ears.
This was a mind blowing for me, because actually, this is when it comes to his arena with other dogs. My dog is not, he is pro social. He likes to hang out with other dogs. He likes to greet other dogs. He doesn't like, he both doesn't like when other dogs encroach in his space, but he also encroaches in other dogs' space. As a puppy, he was quite rude. He was like, "I'm going to jump on you. Also, don't jump on me. Who do you think you are?" Which was a
How
really
dare
lovely,
you?
complicated mix of like, I don't think that's how this works. But if a dog is socially inappropriate and comes bowling up to us, he's like, "Who do you think you are?" And he will shout and tell a dog that that is not acceptable in terms of social. So that was
And
a
that's his
huge arena for me
right.
to go, actually, my dog is social. He just is not. The tolerance aspect of when a dog has been unjust, I was absolutely mind blown by that.
And then the third part of social temperament traits is how do they use space?
Mm,
Right. So there are dogs, like I breed dogs that believe you should be wearing the same sweater if at all possible, except it's too hot. So I often ask puppy buyers, so how do you feel about your spleen? And because they're like, what? Like, do you have a sturdy spleen? They're like, what kind of a question is this? What the hell? It's like, because these dogs believe they're close enough, many of them they're close enough. If our spleens are touching, now we are close enough. So they're not clingy and neurotic, but man, and you will see this as puppies, they will go seek out a human to be near. Like they like to be near you. So if someone says, I don't want one of those dang Velcro dogs, like you
mm,
don't want one of my dogs because they're really connected. What do you want? I had a woman years ago. She got bit in the face by a Welsh Terrier. And I was like, how did your lips get all the way down there? Because the Welsh is not that big a dog, right?
mhm.
She was like, grabbed his little face. I said, just kiss me. I just want to kiss you goodnight. And the dog's like, chomp. I was like, you only had 5 sutures. I'm sorry. I might not have left you lips if I was the dog, but okay. And I'm like, what is it you want? She goes, I want her to like sit on my lap and I want to be able to hug her. And this dog's like, I can see you from here.
Yeah.
We do not have to get all squishy and up close and
Hmm.
personal.
Hmm.
And other dogs are like, oh, I just love being with you. I love curling up in your lap. I love putting my head across your leg.
Hmm.
So if that's something that matters to you, you want a dog who's going to be like, hey, to everybody in the village, and also tolerant when people do stupid stuff like pat him on his head
Hmm.
or accidentally trot on a paw. And how does he use space? And some dogs, they're always appropriate. Like you would have to work at tripping over them. And others, you're like, this is how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I am going to die because we,
I'm
time,
carrying the hot
space,
thing and you're here. Here you are. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
time, space continuum. Only one thing can occupy that space and time moment. And the dogs are like, no, I'm sure I can squash several in. So it has helped people when they have gone to go get a dog. The CARAT frameworks like make a list of all the things you want. And I go back to the analogy of this is like real estate.
Mm,
What are the things like I really, really, really want it to have a lot of windows?
mhm.
I want a lot of light. I don't want a lot of trees. I want whatever the hell it is you want.
Yeah.
But you do the same thing with the dog. It's like, so you're watching TV at night, you're relaxing and reading a book. Where's that dog?
Mm,
Is that dog curled up in the crook of your knee?
mhm,
Is that dog laying quietly chewing a toy in another room? Is that dog perfectly happy to stay out in the kennel without making noise? And so I had a CARAT student and her and her daughter, they lost their dog suddenly. So they're like, we're going to go rescue. I said, then make this list. What are the things you want? Like, what would you make your little dream dog? Build that picture. What is the job description? You must be able to do the following things.
mhm,
And it was one of the things the kid said, he's got to be a cuddler. Like, I so miss not having Oliver or whatever his name was.
mhm,
Like, that was my favorite thing was falling asleep with Oliver or watching TV with him or like that mattered so much that if she didn't get it, she was going to be disappointed in this
mm,
next dog.
mm,
So I'm like, then choose the dog who says, I like being close to people. I like you and I like being close to you.
And do you find that sometimes people will come to you with completely impossible shopping lists there? Like I do, like there's some, I mean, my generic dog owner, I mean, everybody's different, of course, but if I was to average them, which you probably shouldn't, but if, I've worked with 10,000 dogs in 10 years, I've seen a lot of people. And so a lot of people want a dog who's like, yeah, I want them to cuddle, but like not all the time. I want them to be able to sleep in my bed and like desperately need me all the time, but also be okay being left 8 hours a day. And so I find that you kind of get that, yeah, a messy expectation of what the dog is capable of doing, or what any dog as a personality is capable of sort of bouncing into. Yeah, I want them to like play fetch, but also not be too resource guardy, and all of those things are possible. But do you find that with temperament assessments that people come and you're like, actually, that you can't have those two things together, like anything that doesn't.
Well, exactly. I mean, so that's what it comes down to. If you want to think of like the CARAT temperament assessment, I often say it's like a recipe, right? So like absolutely not. No nuts in my brownies. Like absolutely not. No frosting on my brownies. I don't care if it has nuts. Like, okay, so now we're starting to like I'm going to use one recipe for you and one recipe. So as I said before, what makes a great test pilot? There are definite qualities that go along with that. There's physical qualities, but there's also mental and emotional qualities that go along with that. So, what are your non negotiables? Right. And when you hit it where you've got a dog, they've already got this dog, and this dog is not ticking the boxes of non negotiables. Like that one's hard, and it does happen. It's usually more of a is not a great fit, but I really love him. And if I can ease the conflict, if I can sand off some of the edges, get the dog a bit more of what he needs while also meeting the human's needs. So, okay, he's not going to be a cuddler, but what if you taught him cooperative care? What if you could, do these things for him? What if you taught him some tricks? What if you, and like the lady with the well, she got to the point where the dog was just leaving the room. She sat on the couch. The dog's like, I will be in another room because if you're in, you're just going to come and grab me and make me kiss you. And she said, well, what am I supposed to do? This dog's not even going to talk to me. I'm like, you've given her no choice ever. Let her choose. And so a month later, the dog would come and like she'd nap in the doorway. And then she got closer. And then 3 months later, the dog's like, see, you're not going to lie to me, trap me, trick me, grab my face and make me kiss you. I will curl up next to you on the couch.
Oh my goodness.
So, but we had to get that. We had to teach both of them because the dog's thinking like, what is wrong with this human's temperament? So that's where Rat comes in. let's see what the handler's doing and the dog's doing. So yeah, the goal I think most trainers hit is like, this is not your ideal dog.
Yeah.
Or it might be, but you don't know what to do with all this intensity. So we look at like sensory awareness. So we look at visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory. How sensitive are you? Or do you have deficits like the Wheaton I was just talking about? He couldn't see well.
Yeah.
It
Or
turned out it
so many
wasn't.
flat-faced dogs that I wonder actually, can they even see if their eyes are placed to a certain degree around their head and like their depth perception? I'm like, how many of these dogs are actually genuinely blind for things that are approaching them until they get to a certain distance? And that's why they're like, whoa, 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 and doing lots of shouting because they genuinely can't see what it is that's approaching them. Yeah.
Goes back to our previous conversation about puppies.
Mm.
So eyesight is the only thing that develops according to input.
Wow.
So the shape of your eyes changes things, but whether or not you actually had the opportunity to train your eyes to be useful at that distance is another whole story.
Oh, wow.
Our puppies are famous for their owners will be staring at the sky like, what in God's name is that dog watching? And they'll be watching a little tiny hawk or an airplane, but they'll also watch ants crawl right across the ground. And their field of vision. I don't think it's accidental that they, as a rule, tend to have really good eyesight. Right. So we have that. But I just want to know if I bring a dog into a situation, which of those senses is going to be the one, if they have a preference,
Yeah.
how they will sort the world out. I had a friend, she was amazing to watch from a temperament point of view, but maddening to go shopping with because she was really kinesthetic. She wanted to touch everything. So I would walk in. This is how I shop. I walk into a shop. I'm like, yes, I hate everything here. And then I leave. And that's how I shop. I have other friends who are like, let's look at every single thing and try on everything. It's like, I would rather die.
Yeah, me too.
This woman, everything she would get there, she's like, oh, did you feel that material? It's like, it feels really good. Like, just so kinesthetic. And as a dog trainer, I was like, wow, you would be an amazing dog. Because how would you sort out your world? Like, how could I make that good for you? Interesting. But I just want to know, like, where's that dog's brain already focused? But then we ask this other question. Not just, wow, that Wheaton really liked to use his nose, but if you are using that sense, what does it take to interrupt you?
Yes.
Because sometimes, and we've seen this happen, right, with dogs who are like, I was working on it, but I didn't really hear them. And the owner goes, and the dog's like, what? And erases completely the thought of whatever you were working on. And other dogs are like, no, I'm working on it. Like they are persistent. Because that persistence, if you want it, is called brilliance. Right? So when you have a border collie, it's like, I shall put things where they should be, and I'm going to organize stuff, and I'm going to round them all up. It's lovely when you're like, oh, that saved me so much time. It's so muddy out in that pasture.
Yeah.
I'm never
Awesome.
going to get those sheep off the hill. Thank God for. In a suburban setting, when he's rounding up the children on their bikes, the neighbors are calling, go, Rob's down at the schoolyard again, splitting them into marked, not marked. To be shorn, not to be shorn. Not worth breeding, worth breeding. I don't know how border collies learn anything.
And this is where people enter the concept of breed tendencies, isn't it? This is where breed tendencies versus, temperament starts to rear its head.
Right. And it goes bad though, because the world is also full of border collies. They're like, well, that looks like an awful lot of work.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sheep are rather scary.
Yeah.
The children's story, did you have it in the UK of Ferdinand the Bull?
Maybe.
Oh, it's such a wonderful story. So Ferdinand, he comes from a big line of fighting bulls, and he will grow up to be a magnificent bull and face the toreador and all this stuff. And all the other bulls are telling him that. And he's like, I want to smell the flower.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And so he's like, I just want to smell the flower and talk to the birds and the butterflies. They're like, but you are a bull. And he's like, you come from mighty lines. And he's like, but this smells really good. And then they put him out in the bullfighting ring, and that's pretty much what Ferdinand does. It's like he doesn't. So breed tendencies can give you some things, but I had a client sort of in Australia. She had a one-eyed, three-legged, arthritic elderly poodle that herded sheep, and she's like, "Is it okay to let her do that?" 3 elderly sheep. She's like, every morning she moves her from here to there. I'm like, she having fun? Like she loves it. Right. So you can get, don't be stuck on a breed. Breed tendencies is kind of like what ball is under your arm. Is that a soccer ball, a football, a rugby ball? What is that?
Yeah.
May tell us the game we're going to play, but it's like, surprise, I'm going to play a different game with this ball. So when we make assumptions, that's where we stop seeing the dogs. Like, oh, he did that because he's a fill in the blank. And they are often using it to explain behavior that they're struggling with, don't understand. But I will say far more important is the individual. And that's the big study that came out, right? Where it's like, what breed you are does not matter so much. It's like, what I've been saying for a long time now.
That's it. There's more variation within a breed than there is between breeds. There's a huge map of, genetics that's going, these ones are really thickly these dogs and they love doing this. And these are, very genetically connected to loads of other breed types. And so they might look the same, but they're not actually, the same. So it's absolutely vast. Oh, Suzanne, I could literally talk to you all day. I'd like to keep you here forever and just and listen to all of your stories and hear about what we could be doing to change the world. If you were going to leave us with one last nugget when it comes to, temperament, what would you love people to really take away, obviously to come and learn more about how to assess and recognize temperament using your incredible tools? But if I guess it's your other what if you were going to give us a what if question that could change the world in the realm of temperament assessments, what would that what if be, Suzanne?
That before we went and added a dog to our life, we were clear on what our needs were and what that looks like, or what the job description would be. I'm going to give you a microphone that we're going to fill out the form. Do you do the following? These are the things I love to do. Do you also like to do those things? So I wish people would do that match. I don't think that's going to happen. But people responsible for putting puppies and people together can make that happen. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell you a puppy. I'm sorry, we're not going to adopt this dog. I know you saw his face on the internet and knew he was your soulmate. Right? It's like that's not a way to take care of either end of that living being interaction. So if we get really serious about this, we have to be very, very careful that we never stop being curious and interested in who that individual is. But we also have to have the emotional integrity and intellectual integrity to say, as beautiful as you are, as cute as you are, as compelling as your story is, you're not the right fit for me. Or I'm not the right fit for you. It cuts both ways. It really doesn't matter. So asking better questions, like, hey, Doug, it's one of my 6 elemental questions. Who are you? Who are you? Like, really, in great, great detail. Not your daddy was a Great Pyrenees and your mother was a Basenji, and how they met, we have no idea. But you're also apparently part Dandy Dinmont, so you know what that means. It's like, I don't. I have no idea what that means. I shall not bark, but I shall kill the rats or round them up in the corner and never let them to this. I don't know. What does it mean? So getting really curious about how that individual lives their life. How do they experience the world? Because once we start there with curiosity, really deep curiosity, there's just no end to what you can discover. And that, I think, is the most amazing gift. Not this big emotional, gosh, I saved you and you had such a hard history, or you're just so cute, you're just mommy. It's like, no, no, no. You as a sovereign being, who are you? Who are you? And then how can I fit our worlds together rather than how do I make you not do this and make you do this? As soon as that sentence comes into play, make, it's like, how do I make Hannah be a different kind of mother, daughter, sister, wife, whatever? You're like, what? Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Once, when I was working at a rescue center, I had a manager who said, Hannah, you are a border collie and you need to be a Labrador. And I was like, and I went home and all night I lay in bed going, well, you can't turn a border collie. You mean you could have a collie cross, but it'd still be border collie. And I just border collie that thought for the whole of the evening and was like, okay, I can't do that. That's not who I am. I don't know what you want from me.
You're like, no, that's not doable. So helping people understand who their dog is, I find, is one of the big keys to appreciating who and why the dog is, because they either want to blame the dogs or blame themselves or both, instead of, this is not about blame in any way, shape, or form.
No.
This is about, this is how this tree grows.
So good. Suzanne Clothier, thank you so much. We can find out more about everything you do at your website, which is
SuzanneClothier.com.
amazing. And yeah, guys, check it out. Suzanne has a whole host of amazing courses that you can take. The functional assessment tool, you can do the relationship assessment tool, you can do the Clothier Animal Response Assessment Tool, which is the one we've been mostly talking about today, and the Treat Retreat too for reactive dogs. And there's a reactive repair kit which is coming soon too. And I know, Suzanne, you do some mentorship as well with some people. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that before
Yeah,
we let
so
you
we've got a very small group of one-on-one mentoring. So that's trainers who really want some help, some advice. Here's the case I have. Here's what I'm thinking about this. Where can I go to learn more about this? Can you help me fine tune what happened here? So that's one-on-one. But we also have a small group of, it's a mentorship group, meets twice a month. So God only knows what we'll talk about. If there's a rabbit hole to stick a stick in, we will stick a stick in it. Or what do you guys see in this video? So it's a bunch of very like-minded, super smart people with all kinds of different backgrounds. So that's fun. FAT, the functional assessment tool, is actually an app. It's an online app
Very
that
cool.
helps you track cognitive, physiological, and social functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Because function, right, that varies. When you saw me, I was pretty lame. Hopefully, next time you see me, I will have a replacement knee and I won't be lame. It'll be wonderful. So that's a functional aspect versus temperament. So function is, temperament is I'm going to eat everything because I love food. Function is I ate too much and now I have diarrhea.
Okay, simple.
Exactly. We
All
don't
right.
actually have a food persistence, but anyway, you can check that out at fatfordogs.com. And so that one lets trainers actually
Mhm.
track, here's our intake. Hey, what's going on with this dog across these many dimensions? And now that we're training, is that changing? Or we've added new medication, or we've added diet, or we've gotten a new exercise or environmental protocol.
Love it.
We are getting more towards healthy functioning
Mm,
on all these points. So check that one out. That's
super.
been 10 years in the making.
Come on. It's so good. And there's so much data. And it's just, yeah, it's just delicious, Suzanne, everything that you do. As I say, super fan all day. So thank you so much for giving us so much of your time when you are, yeah, a very busy lady. Um,
Everybody says that. I don't know what they think I do. I had someone say, "You don't ever watch TV, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, you wouldn't watch TV. You're very busy." I'm like, I have a busy brain. Let's get really clear on that. I have a
yeah.
busy brain. It works really fast, but I will often be like playing some stupid like solitaire game while listening to TV while sorting out a curriculum like simultaneously.
Mhm.
So, this is my passion though, like you,
That's it.
right? So I appreciate your appreciation for my time, but this is what I do. I
Yeah.
love helping people understand animals better.
And we love learning from you, Suzanne. It's easy to do and full of stories, and it's just so accessible. So, yeah, thank you. Long may you reign, Suzanne Clothier. And if this is the first time you've come across this lady, I can highly recommend checking out all of her things. And she'll be available on a ton of other podcasts because somehow we managed to just get you at the point that the UK are like, we're into Suzanne. You've
Everybody
been
loves
on Tom Candy's, you've been on the Yappily podcast as well. So and I think
Daniel.
with our dear friend Daniel, yeah, the Brain and Behavior podcast too. So
It is still the one country that we cannot get a publisher to pick up Bones. Bones has been in
what?
print for 25 years. Yep, it's been in print since I wrote it in 2000, right? I finished it, and it's published in 2002. So going on 25 years, and we cannot get a British publisher. Isn't that weird? I thought that was going to be a piece of cake because you
Okay, well,
UK folks are so dog. You know what I
this is
mean?
this
Like,
is a timestamp point, Suzanne. So we're going to say right now it's 2025. Suzanne cannot get her book published in the UK, and someone's going to listen back to this and be like, "Oh, I have that now." Like this, it's all over the UK because now it's the future because this is about the future of dogs. So I'm going to speak that out there, Suzanne, that the future of dogs for you is that you get a publisher that wants to take that book and pass it
yeah,
around the
it's ready
UK
to
because
rock
it's
and
good.
roll. Like
Come on.
it's been a good steady seller. And when I wrote it, no one wanted to talk about relationships or dogs with emotions. They're like the actual dog human bond category did not
Mm,
even exist.
it's bonkers.
Like, I don't know. This is kind of out there with the emotions. I had to fight for it. The dog wasn't an it, it was a they. I fought for that. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that stays. And I'm like, no, it's not an it.
Mm.
And they're like,
I just
yes, but the proper grammar. I'm like, well, screw your proper grammar.
yeah. When I
It's
started
he or
training,
she or they.
yeah. I mean, I was when I started training dogs outside. This was 2010, so it's not even that long ago. But when I was training, I was like, I'm going to train dogs in parks. I'm not training dogs in churches, in school halls. I'm not doing that. That's not a normal environment for them to be in, really. It's very loud. Also, I find it overwhelming. I'd rather be outside. And even then, I'd always say, I'm a bond over obedience trainer. And people would be like, what is that? And I'm like, well, I focus on the bond over the obedience. And they're like, what? So it doesn't matter what the dog does. And that's not what I said. Like, but the bond is more important than the dog being obedient. Like, this is my focus, is that you have a good bond with your dog. And even in 2010, I think there were a lot of people that were like, I don't, like, you need to get the dog to do the stuff. Yeah, it's just a little woo. But so much more now. This is more commonplace, and this is becoming the norm, and that is really exciting.
Isn't it?
So I can't wait to see all of your stuff set fire to the dog world in the best way, Suzanne. I really do think that is exactly what is about to happen. And if it were up to me, I would make your enriched puppy protocol like a standard for anyone who wanted to breed a dog, like that they would need to know that stuff in order to do it well, because that's why we're getting bitten. And so many other thoughts and theories that I could throw at you, but we won't, because I know that you guys have got many other things to do in life, and you have been listening to us for a decent amount of time. So we're going to love you and leave you. But Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us on the Future of Dogs podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure yet again.
Been a joy. Thanks.
And that's all for another episode of The Future of Dogs. Big thanks to our sponsor, Amplified Behaviour. Your host and producer is Hannah Malloy. Technical direction, audio and video producer is Mark Goslett. And the graphic designer is James Whipps.